Jon, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a while. The last time you spoke with me was when you were narrating soundtracks in my ear as I was on a walk, and it was literally to me because as I'm listening to soundtracks, I'm like, Jon is giving me the gears about this. But I also know, based on the conversations we've had over the years, that you were also giving yourself the gears as part of
Oh,
it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I always the way I write books is I find a problem I have, I go to see if I can find a solution, and then I see if I can solve it, I see if other people have the same problem, and that's what creates the book. So, yeah, the first person's toes I step on are always my own.
So my question around the book Procrastination Proof is number one, what took you so long to write it? And
Yeah.
secondly, and secondly, why now in this body of work journey do you feel that this is when this book is kind of it's time for this book?
I couldn't have written it book 2. Like,
Yeah.
it would have taken tremendous ego for me to say, "Never get stuck again on book 2." I hadn't worked on procrastination in my own life. But by book 11, I feel comfortable going, "Hey, I figured out how to do the things I'm trying to do in a consistent, sustainable, fun way, and here's what you can do." So that's why in this part of my career. And then the other thing is I really enjoy writing about what I'd call, like, mindset villains or dragons of mindset. So Finish was about perfectionism, Soundtracks was about overthinking. This book is of the villain is procrastination. So I like to find issues that get in the way of what you're trying to do and solve them. So that's why I wrote about this one now.
The first thing that kind of jumped out at me as I went through the book. Number one, it's written in a style that's very easy to digest in a lot of ways. You can't really
Mhm.
procrastinate through chapters because they're very short, which I loved, especially as I went through it over the course of a weekend. But one of the things that landed right away was like, why do we procrastinate? Like that's one of those things that there's been a lot of talk around it. You know, Tim Pitchell, who you allude to in the book, you mentioned him actually, and there have been lots of talk around procrastination. One thing I appreciate about the work that you do and the writing you do is it it's conversational. Like it's
Mhm.
not heady in that regard. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
very approachable and accessible. But when you talk about the five common reasons people believe they procrastinate, I'd like to go over those because as
Sure.
I was looking at them, I'm like, yeah, this is. I mean, you're nailing them, and everyone can relate to these five things.
Mhm. Sure. Sure. Well, so the list is time, task, fear, history, and ego. And I'd say ego is the surprising one, so we'll save that one for last. But I mean, task is this thing is overwhelming. I don't know where to start. And when you say I don't know where to start, you're kind of saying there's a perfect place to start. And as soon as I find it, then you better watch out. I'll really start. But it's this sense of like my to-do list is too big, the task is too gnarly, I don't have the requirements, whatever. I can't deal with this task. That's kind of one of the most common things people will say when they say why they procrastinated. And the didn't know where to start or didn't know which the other thing is I didn't know which project to work on first. So everyone who reads my books has too many goals. The failure I used to do is when I would teach people how to do goals, I'd go, let's start with a blank piece of paper and write down every goal you'd ever want to do. They already feel overwhelmed. I just gave them an exercise that overwhelms them further. So
Right.
now, to your point about prioritization, that's a word you and I talk about a lot. I think it's more about having a good sense of, okay, how do I prioritize the things I want to do? But that's task. The f- um, the kind of time is I don't have enough time. I really want to do the whole thing all at once. I only have 20 minutes, I only have 30 minutes, I only have an hour. This is really a 4 hour. And someday when I have enough time, I'll do it. As if you've ever had a blank calendar show up for you, like a whole week is just like, here I am on the someday week. Now you can learn AI. And so that's another big one is like it's a time issue. Like if I just had more time. So those are the first two.
Mhm.
When you read those first two, what's your reaction?
So, when first off with time, it's hilarious because I think one of the things that happens when I have a light week is my propensity is to go, oh well, it's a lighter week, so I'll just I can coast through it a little bit more. We all do this,
Yeah.
right? You actually brought up the Feynman thing where like how do we learn more? We teach, right? So I
Yeah.
find that I'm doing this as well, where I'm like, hold up, like I have a lighter week. This is where I should be, spreading the work equally amongst these as opposed to going, okay, well, this is a lighter week, so I can kind of take my time with things. And then all of a sudden, the next week isn't, and you're like, well, now I'm behind. And procrastination's insidious that way, right? Like it'll show up in ways that you don't. It's not hitting you over the head with it. It's
No,
very sinister.
subtle. It's
Yeah.
subtle. And what's fascinating about it to me is you procrastinate on everything, meaning on things you have to do but don't want to do. I
Yep.
don't want to do my taxes. I don't want to write the thank you card. I don't want to, but also things you really want to do. I really want to write a book. I really want to get in shape. I really want to build my business. So it's kind of an equal opportunity foe. It
Yeah.
goes to things you have to do plus things you want to do. The third thing I talked about is kind of just garden variety fear. I'm
Yep.
afraid of the thing, and procrastination allows me to avoid the thing. Therefore, I'll procrastinate. I
Yep.
don't know how to tell my mom I'm not coming for Thanksgiving this year. So I'll wait until 3 days before Thanksgiving and it's a massive blow up versus tell her in March when I knew. So I'll procrastinate for 6 months because I'm avoiding, her response. She's going to guilt me, whatever. The fourth one is history, meaning
Hmm.
you mistakenly believe it's a tool. So you remember college and go, "Oh, in college, my process was I waited until the last second, I still got a good grade," or "Am I most creative right before the deadline?" And they've studied that up and down, and no one's first attempt is ever their best and final attempt. Like
Yeah.
you always find something in the second look. You always, whether you're a writer or a plumber or your first is never the best. And then the last one is ego, and ego kind of shows up where it goes, I shouldn't have to do this. Like, I can't believe I have to do this. This is like not my job. Somebody else should be doing this. And that one's really subtle because now you've got kind of your identity wrapped up in it too. And those are kind of the five things you see people bounce back and forth. And it's not that you only do one of those. I personally have done all five of those,
Hmm.
often in the same day.
Hmm. Well,
So but those are the five.
well, and you and I both have a history of doing some comedic stuff, right? You did stand up. I've done
Sure.
stand up. I've also done improv.
Yep.
So one of the things that I've caught myself in, and I've gotten better with this over the years, was as an improviser, I'm like, well, I don't have to rehearse as much for this talk. Like I'm a gifted improviser, and that works until it doesn't, and then
Yeah.
like it. And it's one of those things where it's a combination of like, because to your point, it's like,
It's both and.
yeah, it's historical. It's like I don't need to invest the time. It's like the ego. Why
Mhm.
should I do this? I'm really good. I've been told I'm really good at this, so I should be
Yeah.
able
I
to
think
show
fast
up.
on my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So one of the things that I loved, especially early on in the book, and this is throughout, is the idea of permission. Like you put
Mhm.
permission out there, and I think that's really tricky for people to recognize that when they're looking at the scope of their lives, the calendar, the to-do list, all of this stuff, and they don't feel like permission is there. So can we talk about because that's not something I've seen come up very often when people are talking about procrastination, this idea of like I've seen validation, I've seen all these other things, but
Sure.
permission, like this permissiveness that can help as kind of a panacea for it.
Yeah, so that was one of these words I just started to notice a lot, and it was funny because we don't say it as adults. Like when you were a kid, a permission slip had a lot of power. Like the ability to get permission to do something really was a skeleton key for like your whole life. And then you
Hmm.
start to see it in every story. Like Gandalf gave it to Frodo. You have permission to save the Shire. Like Morpheus gave it to Neo. The fairy godmother gave it to Cinderella. So then I just really started to explore what does it look like to give yourself permission to do the thing that maybe you're delaying, or do it in a smaller way than maybe you told yourself you have to do it, or
Yeah.
do it, in a bite-sized way. What is the permission like? What does permission look like there? And it felt counterintuitive. That's what I like about the word is that it's counterintuitive because most people think the solution to procrastination is work harder. But my argument there is like, if work harder was the solution, you'd already be doing it. You've tried probably a lot of things. If like, so I just essentially said, like, working harder won't fix it because it's not a laziness problem. It's really not, in my opinion. Like, it's not that you're lazy. Some of the hardest working people I know are the biggest procrastinators.
Hmm.
And so, working harder would be like thinking brushing your teeth would fix a broken arm. So I liked permission as a counterintuitive entrance into, oh, there is a way for me to actually engage in the work and do the things I really want to do.
I like the process you've put together around becoming procrastinate. Those 4 steps. The book is broken up into those 4 steps:
Yeah.
dream, plan, do, review. What I really loved is that I think you've cracked the nut in the whole review part, because I just saw a video today. Mark Andreessen was interviewed, and he says he has no introspection, no time for introspection. And of course, it was on one of those. I think it looked like it was on one of those podcasts that Louis Theroux would have loved to put on his Manosphere documentary. But that's beside the point.
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
it just, I'm
yeah,
like, really, no introspection? It's like, yeah, it's like, just move forward, go forward. What I loved
yeah.
about what you did with that one, I know I want to go in sequential order to a point, but I want to start there because I think that's an
Sure.
area that people struggle with, is this
Yeah.
idea of like, well, I've already done it, so what's the point of looking back? What's the point of review? Like, on to the next, on to the next,
Mm,
on to the next. And the nut you cracked was you showed how little time you have to do it to get the payoff. Do you know what I mean? Like the
yeah,
percentage that you drove in there.
it's crazy. I mean, and I've just seen it work in my own team. I have a small team, and so when somebody says, "Hey, we're going to launch this new thing, and we think it'll do 100 sales," and I go, "Well, how many did it do last time?" They're like, "Oh, we should go look at that." And often it did 12, and I'll say, "Hey, so we're gonna 9x it this year." I'm optimistic. I get it.
Mhm.
How are we planning to 9x the sales of last time we did it? And often the answer is like hope. Oh, we got so, oh, we're so, and a quick review, like, yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed because we believe in ourselves.
Yep.
We've got the eye of the tiger. And so the phrase I use a lot, the soundtrack, if you will, is data kills denial, which prevents disaster. So data kills denial, which prevents disaster. Data is just telling us the truth. And the older I get and the more I invest in data, the better decisions I make. And so often, even, dream plan, do review is the order, but sometimes it's great to just start with a review. You could even say, what has somebody like me done in this particular thing? Like, okay, I want to be this type of public speaker. I want to be this type of writer. Like one of my activities for writers is go interview the shelf, meaning I'll physically go to a bookstore and interview the shelf, looking at every book that's in that category that I want to sit in. And
Mhm.
I'll go, oh man, they all do these kind of covers right now. Or, oh man, this topic is always explained this way. Like, that's me reviewing. I'm not sitting down with a blank piece of paper, which can be intimidating. It's me going, let me go get a little review data so that I have somewhere to start as I dream. So yeah, the review is, I always say it's the easiest to do and the easiest to avoid because people don't like doing a review.
Tim points up here, and again, I still haven't changed the lovely font that is still like glowing like it's radioactive. Tim says review is one of the 4 elements of the Cobb learning cycle. So without review, there's rarely any good learning going on.
You
Yeah,
don't iterate. You
no,
never get better. You
no,
never, and it's not sexy. The people that have the biggest challenge with it are people that are really good at do, which I would call like hustlers,
yeah,
because they see a review as a speed bump,
hmm
as a deterrent to their constant effort. Like I worked with a sales team, and their soundtrack was if it didn't happen in Salesforce, it didn't happen. Meaning, if you don't fill out what you just sold, we're not going to count it. And the sales team would be like, "Ah, it's so much bureaucracy." And the leaders would go, "It's 3 fields on a form, and we need to know the name and the cell phone of the person you sold to so we can fulfill it." And they're like, "Get me back in the streets. I'm an animal. I'm meant to sell." And so, yeah, there's a lot of people that miss the review because it feels like it's taking time, it's not paying benefits, but it actually multiplies your ability to really, really do.
So do you think that when it comes to data, because I think it's a slippery slope too, there's a lot of people that can go down the quantitative productivity
Oh,
rabbit hole,
yeah,
and then the
yeah.
qualitative stuff it just sucks the life out of it, which goes back to the dream idea. Like, do you find like those 2 areas are almost like one provides data, the other one kind of like, for me, the dream is like, what does this look like? Like data, it plays a role, but I would think it would play a lesser role in that phase of the game,
In the
right?
dream phase,
Yeah.
yeah. No, the data thing where I see it happen, especially right now, is Like, I see small teams, big teams even having like AI document wars where like I say to you, "Hey, I need you to put together this plan." And in a half hour, you give me a 20-page document that I know you haven't even read. You certainly haven't thought about it. You just answered 5 questions in Claude. It generated a 20-page good-looking report and you're like, "Here." And now you're in an arms race with documents back and forth. Like that's where
Hmm.
the data gets dangerous to me because
Right.
there's no end to that and you can be like, but did we sell that product to any redheaded people in the month of March in 2023? I might need that data. Like you can kind of keep going down that path. As far as a dream and data, I mean, the transition I see people getting stuck in is dreaming requires optimism, planning requires realism.
Yeah.
And so dreaming huge, anything's possible. You transition into planning, you got to be realistic, and people get kind of sandwiched between those two realities.
Well, and they don't break things down in that phase either, right? They stay with a big optimist high, like I'm going to write this book and this book's going to be amazing, and then they go into the planning phase and they're like, I have to get an ISBN number, I have to do the proposal, like all these things that are like
Yeah.
they dilute the dream in some respects, but
Mhm.
they're part of it, right? Do you know what I mean? The story, it's the story is lovely when it's like, look at what will happen here, but then when you get to the planning phase,
Oh, it
uh,
gets real.
yeah. And most people don't. They again, and you bring this up too, like making things smaller. This is an area that I think a lot of people struggle with. Is just this idea of breaking projects down to their smallest particles.
Well, I would just say 2 things to that.
Sure.
Use planning as a filter. Use planning as a filter. If you won't spend an hour planning the thing, you don't really care about the dream. Like, if you won't pay that admission, if you won't have an hour interview with Claude where you just go, "Hey, here's a dream I'm thinking about doing. Interview me about this." Like, I love to make it a journalist and interview me. If you won't do that degree, then it's not a good goal for you. Like, if you won't give an hour to it in planning, then don't do like there's your sign. If you want a simple filter on how to prioritize things, the things I won't pay an hour for, I probably don't care about. So that's the first thing I'd say as far as like sorting it out. But then as far as small, I think that's where the ego gets involved too because the ego wants it to be fast, they want it to be big, they want it to be exciting. And so when somebody tells me, "Okay, I'm gonna run an Ironman," and I go, "Hey, let's try to run like a couple times this week for 7 days and test if we even like running." And they feel like they interpret that as discouragement because 'cause they're like, "No, no, no, I'm a runner.
Yeah.
Like I'm a runner now." And they've already taken on this identity they haven't even practiced in. And they're like, "You're bringing me down. I have a big goal." And I'm more like, I always tell people, let's date, not marry the new things. Like the
Hmm.
reason New Year's resolutions fail is you attempt something for a year you haven't done for a day. Of course it fails. Like if you said it that way, you'd go, well, that's absurd. Like if I told you, hey, I'm going to get into watercolors, I'm going to paint watercolors every single day this year. You'd hopefully, as my friend, go, have you ever done it like 3 days in a row? You ever done 3 days of watercolor? Like, have you and if I said no, then hopefully you would be like, "Well, here's a what if you just make January your audition month, and
Yeah.
then we'll go from there." And then double it, by all means, double it, but the older I get, the more excited I am about sustainable long-term goals versus really exciting burnouts that I constantly used to do when I was younger.
Well, and I think you bring up a really cool point there about sustainability versus consistency, because I think we hear the term consistent so much that we forget that it's got to be sustainable. So you hear consistent, and again, it's like
Yeah.
I got to do this. I got like, but can you sustain it? Because that's the linchpin there, right?
Yeah, and I'm already like I got into LinkedIn like 2 weeks ago where I really started to kind of mess around with it. And I was
Hmm.
like, "Oh, I love this. Like I love LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, like where have you been all my life?" And I was like, "I'm going to post something every day." And then I was like, why don't we be smart about this? Like, why don't we pump the brakes a little bit? So, like, I had a post on Saturday that ended up getting like 300 comments, and I responded to most of them. And I was like, oh, let me sit with that for a couple days. I don't need to cram another idea on top of that one. Like, let me really nurture that conversation. But I still like, even somebody who writes books like I do was like, I wanted to turn it into something unsustainable. And even like my wife's helped me that with working out. So I joined this thing called F3, which is this morning workout program for men at 5:30 in the morning, rain or shine, out held outdoors. And I would go on my own probably 5 to 6 days a week. And she was like, "Hey, I think you should commit to 3 days a week." And part of it is she's like, "You changed our whole wake up time that we've agreed to for 25 years of marriage. You're getting up at 4:55." we never discussed that. So in her defense, totally fair.
Hmm.
But her bigger thing is like, I want you to be able to do it for 10 years if you want to do it, not
Yeah.
for 1 month because you think you have to keep up with a 29-year-old who's 21 years younger than you, and you throw out your shoulder because you like. And so the sustainable to me is also long range. Like I've got some long range goals that I get excited about. I want to be writing books for a long time. Like you've written
Yeah.
before we got on here, you talked about that. Like
Yep.
you figured out a sustainable pattern for you. That's awesome.
Yep. Yep. And what's interesting, I think I look at the age thing because I'm 51 is like when the grunts start showing up when you're like sitting down, like the dad grunt.
Yeah, yeah,
You're like, all right,
yeah.
I can't
Or you
do.
care how comfortable a chair is, you start
Yes.
commenting on furniture. Like, I didn't give a single piece of furniture a compliment in my entire 30s,
No.
and now I'm like, "Oh, this chair has really good back support." What?
Yeah. Yeah. The one behind me, the wingback chair. I'm like, you know what I like about that chair is if I lean this way, it's got like a makeshift pillow that I can just kind of
Yeah, there
like
you
if I
go.
decide I want
Yeah.
to rest. Um, but one of the things that you bring up, you brought up the morning stuff, which we've discussed this. 5:30 a.m. is not for me. But you talk about in the plan section the idea of when morning me and night me started working together. This is really
Yeah.
key because I think you know, as a night owl, I have to plan my night like the night before because in the morning I'm useless, right? So I
Yeah.
need that. But that doesn't just apply to night owls. And you bring up the turn alignment, which, yes, can become very overused and almost
Yeah.
corrupted in a way. So, can we touch on that? Because I think that's an area that it's such a small, simple thing, but it can pay off huge when you start to have that alignment happening.
Yeah, for me, the first time I noticed it was that I was having a hard time in the morning because night me was making really bad decisions. And
Yeah.
morning me was like, "Hey, I would like to for us to be more productive. Night me is screwing me right now." And
Yeah.
so what happened was I started to kind of get them in alignment, meaning I would make deliberate choices at night that would set me up for success in the morning, and I saw them as connected. And then I started to see they had different roles. So, like, what I say in the book is, morning me is an amazing doer. Like,
Mhm.
if I have a plan, morning me will run through a wall if you just pick out the wall first. If I wake up though and it's 8 a.m. and I don't have a plan and I don't know what I'm doing and the phone's already ringing and there's already emails and there's already LinkedIn and all like I feel overwhelmed almost immediately and I flounder for a couple hours. So, but I also noticed that night me is a good planner because nobody's bothering me. Like it's just, at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., whatever. If I spend 15 minutes and go, okay, hey, morning me, here's what we're gonna first three things we're doing. Like this is what we're doing. Then I wake up and I feel great. And then like night me start to make even bigger commitments like going to the workout program, I know in the morning, most mornings I'm like, I don't want to do it. 4:55 is stupid. I've never been a wake up in the 4 o'clock hour guy. But I just found ways at night to go, okay, night me, like one of his favorite tricks, if I can use an out of body frame, is to volunteer to drive other guys. Because if I tell 3 guys I'll pick them up, you better believe at 5:05 AM, morning me is not gonna get to squirrel out of that. Like, because 'cause I'm not gonna text 3 different guys and be like, "Not coming, not coming, not coming." I've put
Yeah.
myself in a corner.
Yeah.
So, I figured it out on the micro level, and then I just started to go, "What can Monday me do to hook up Friday me? What can Tuesday me do to hook up Thursday me?" And then it just got bigger and bigger. It was like, what can this month me do to hook up next month? And like you said it earlier, like with my time, I want this week to be balanced with next week because both of those exist.
Mhm.
So that's what helped. That's how I think about planning.
Well, and I think the other thing you brought up when you said if you don't have that plan, you talk about like you've committed externally to people. So that's very different. But those insidious things that you talk about, like the phone ringing, the email come,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
those are the external demands that creep up, and they do have the same impact, right? Well, I don't want to let this person down. I don't want to, and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's so much easier to deal with. Here's what I'd like you to do. You go okay because you don't
Yeah.
have a plan, so
Well, and
it's
everything comes in with an air of emergency. Like one
right.
of the things we say in our company is like we don't have an emergency company. Like I write books and give speeches. Like no one is on an operating table and they're like, man, if John doesn't respond to this email, we're gonna lose the patient. But there is this franticness to pace that's just natural
Mhm.
in our culture. And so for me, that also like gives me a chance to go, if I don't respond to that in 3 hours, that's fine. Like I don't, like and often the problem has solved itself by the time I get involved, like 3 hours later.
I want to talk about time, which we've touched on before, there's like, and you alluded to it, we both alluded to it, the idea of time, the way time works. And I love
Mhm.
this. I've not heard anybody say it this way, but it definitely resonates. 3 days is firm, 3 weeks is fuzzy, 3 months is faint, 3 years is fiction.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is whenever you have those calendars, and you alluded, yeah, you mentioned these. Like, I love Tim Urban's Wait But Why calendar that shows like the weeks that have gone by and stuff. And you
Oh,
see, and
yeah.
you're like, oh my goodness, this is past or whatever. Or you get those years ago, I tried, I'm like, let's build like something called the decade designer to give people some
Oh, yeah.
long tail views. And then I realized, number one, people were like, not interested. But you know who was the least interested? Me. I just
Yeah.
posted that looked good. I'm like, I don't know. And we don't know because I mean, my daughter now lives in Montreal. My son's going off to a university program for a month in July. Like, everything is so dynamic. We love humans. I mean, again, we love certainty and we love uncertainty. We love static, but we also know that there's dynamic elements. So I love this
Sure.
idea. Can we go into these four F's, because I think that not enough people recognize that the distinction between them.
Yeah, so for me, it was just about going, I shouldn't expect the same clarity across time frames. 3 days out from now, I'm pretty dialed in on what's gonna happen. There's gonna be a little surprises, but not massive. Like, so Friday there a podcast came in that I wasn't expecting that I did on Monday. Great. I moved one thing around. No big deal. But that's pretty firm. 3 weeks out is pretty fuzzy, and if I tell you I'll be doing exactly this 3 weeks from now at this time, unless it's a meeting with a bunch of other people in dependencies, it's probably gonna be kinda fuzzy. And
Mhm.
then you get even further out, 3 months, and people go, "Well, here's what we're gonna." Like, imagine if I tried to plan a 3-month plan for how I use AI, and then Claude and ChatGPT were like, "Boom, completely new model." Like, "What?" Like,
Yeah.
think about
Yeah.
what happened, like, 3 weeks ago, dude. Like,
Mhm.
and that was just 3 weeks ago.
I
That's
know.
even not even 3 months ago, and then 3 years, that was kinda my response to, like you said, the 10-year plan where somebody like, "You gotta have a 10-year plan." When I think about the change that's happened to me in the last 10 years, looking ahead at the next 10 years, I think it'll be just as big. Like, I think maybe I'll be doing a completely different type of business model. Maybe my daughters will both live in Birmingham and Jenny and I will have moved to Birmingham because they had grandkids. I don't There's so many things, like, maybe your kid settles in Montreal and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, like, we wanna settle in Montreal too." That wasn't in the cards. I just
Or
think it takes the pressure off.
yeah, well, what it does, it also forces you to focus more on the present too, which we don't
Yeah.
spend enough time doing. Like, we
Which
don't
you
know.
can write in pen. You can actually
Yes.
write that in pen.
Yeah. 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 So Tim's asking again. I'll repeat it. The four F's are 3 years is three. Sorry, 3 days is firm.
Mhm.
3 weeks is fuzzy. 3 months is faint, and 3 years is fiction. So whenever I do the
Yeah.
Ready retreat, by the way, and John has thoughts about Ready, which we're going to get to in a second. We have this virtual retreat we call the Ready retreat, where people map out. We typically map out 3 months. Like, most people
Yep.
go by the default because every 3 months we have another one. So it's just like,
Sure.
there's a perfect waypoint. So that's as far as we go. But even then, it's like, anyone who's in this live stream right now or listening to this that has done a Ready retreat knows that there are things that you map out during the Ready retreat for those 3 months that you're like, I don't know. I'm going to just put it out there I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. Right.
Yeah.
But speaking of Ready, when I read that part of the book, I'm like, "Y- you're not wrong. Ready is a myth. But the
Mm,
question to me, the question becomes, if someone, I think readiness to a degree matters. It's just the
mm,
idea of like, I'm ready, I'm ready. There's that state again. Readiness is a state. It's like productiveness versus productivity. Productiveness is the state of being
totally.
productive. Productivity is the activity of producing. Ready is,
Mhm,
it's a verb, right? Like, I'm ready, but readiness is the state of being ready, which I think is a
mm.
bit more immersive, right?
Yeah, my version of that would be that the 2 tensions you have to hold in your hands, like, accept uncertainty, increase certainty.
Yeah.
So you accept uncertainty. There's a million things I don't control, like, that I just have no control over. And then I increase certainty in the ways that I can. I'm prepared. Like, I can't control people to book me to speak, but I can certainly do better customer service on LinkedIn. I can certainly follow up with clients. I can certainly have more, keynotes to talk about. So that's to me what ready, like, I just don't like when people use ready as an excuse to not go,
Yeah.
meaning, we're just not ready to be parents. Like you're not gonna be like and you, here's what's funny, because of the age of your kids, you know what I know now, which is
Hmm.
raising adult children's even more challenging
Yeah.
because the stakes are higher and you have less control. And that's a
Yep.
tough combo, dude. Like
Yeah.
your hands are real wide. And so you were never ready for parenting. Like you're never ready to there's check boxes, like there's things you can do, but I don't like ready. To your point, I think readiness is a state. I think ready as a destination is bad because
Yeah.
I think it's a false destination.
When you talk about review, because I want to circle back to that, um, I love the discovery that you mentioned, because I think that again, that barrier to reflection and review is very
Mhm.
real. But once you figure out that there's something on the other side of it, when it, for lack of a better term, and this is what people want to achieve, to accomplish, to check off that
Yeah.
box, that discovery.
Mhm.
Can we touch? I'll let you kind of talk about the discoveries, because I think that lands so much better than, well, it'll make you feel better, or you'll get to see a chronological output of your day, or what have you. Like, it's more that those discoveries, I think, that really that's the sweet sauce.
Yeah, and it just puts everything into perspective too. I mean, to me, that's the thing with the review, is that the review tells you the truth and it makes you even better next time. And it creates self-awareness. Like it just gives and get like pound for pound, it gives way more than it takes. It takes a
Hmm.
little bit of ego cost. It does, because part of the reason people don't like to look at review is they're afraid of what they'll find, or they're afraid what it'll say about me. They've tied their identity into the success of this thing. And so they're kinda like, as long as I don't look at it, I won't have to see that I undersold or underperformed or whatever. So it does cost a little of that, but man, it pays dividends and tells you which bridges are out and which walls you're banging your head against, and you should stop banging your head against that wall. Or which things have been broken the entire time, and you're just throwing money at them, and they've stopped working a long time ago. So for me, if you can't do a review, you end up making a lot of progress. It's just often in the very worst direction. Like it's the wrong like I would just say a review for me, like an example of my own life. I've got a soundtrack I'm saying right now, which is Instagram is fun, LinkedIn is profitable. Instagram is fun, LinkedIn is
Yeah.
profitable. Because one is really shiny and really easy for me to be like, I gotta blow up Instagram.
Yeah.
And one is kind of quiet and demure and actually where the money's made. And so
Hmm.
then I get to go, having reviewed these two things, which one do I want to focus on? Which one do I want to, not to abandon one or the other, but to go, if my real goal is increasing speaking engagements, or like we do a speaking intensive for people who want to be a speaker or people who want to be a writer. And if I want to connect with those people, they're on LinkedIn. Like, even that's just this took me so long, it's embarrassing. It took me forever to realize LinkedIn's the only social media site where you can use it at work and not get caught.
Yeah.
If your boss comes into your cubicle and you're on Instagram, you shut it. Facebook, shut it. Twitter, shut it. They come into LinkedIn, you might be contacting clients. You might be sales prospecting. You might it's not a like it's a work approved social media. It's not YouTube. YouTube, you shut. So I was just like, oh, the people I'm trying to reach, I wouldn't have known that unless I reviewed. And so like the discoveries you get out of review always exceed the ego cost of kind of looking at what's really going on.
Well, and you're an artist and you're a business person, so that balance of art and commerce is really it's a
I have to be if I
y-
want to
y-
be an artist for very
yeah.
long.
Yeah. Well, but you also don't want to be doing soul sucking stuff either, because then you're just
No,
taking the art out of it, right? So like on LinkedIn, I think Justin Welsh has done some great stuff on LinkedIn. I'm sure you've seen his stuff, like the LinkedIn pilot program and all that stuff, which I love. And I think there's some great stuff, but I think they say experiment, like try stuff that you wouldn't normally put on LinkedIn that people like. I think I posted that I watched 3 of the Academy Award nominated films, and they're all sticking with me. And I kind of just left it there. And there's been some conversation around it because, well, frankly, I think it's a bit of a different thing that they're not seeing on there instead of seeing all these articles about whatever. But also, it's not got all of the other stuff that the other social platforms are sharing these days that make them a bit less appealing to be in, right? Like LinkedIn hasn't had that stuff show up yet either.
And you can still write. You can still write there. People will read. Like
exactly.
That fits what I'm good at. Again, I feel like I owe LinkedIn an apology because I've been like, and now I'm like,
I want to kind of touch on a couple more things before we wrap up. So when I got to the final story in the book, it can be so good. I laughed out loud to myself because of the thing that you would want, the toy that you wanted so badly, right?
Did you have it?
No, but I know someone who did. My son,
yeah, we all did.
Yeah, my son made one out of cardboard in a 24-hour span, and it was amazing. I'll send you the photo of it because it's still
Please.
like it's amazing. But you know what? But again, like those little carrots. So the reason that I chuckled wasn't just that, yes, the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier that every boy wanted. You know, I'm like, yes, absolutely. I mean, it was, but it was ridiculous. And now, of course, you see how much it was back then. I'm like, I could do that without blinking at this point.
I didn't know how poor we were.
No, we couldn't do it either. But I wanted Transformers was the other cartoon that was on at the same time. Yeah. So I always wanted the aerial bots, the Transformers aerial bots that would combine into the. And so recently, Hasbro has been doing all these toys again. They're bringing and of course, so they finally did the aerial bots. So what I've done is, and you can't really see it from here, but I've shared it, is I have Silverbolt. He's up, way up. If I might, let's see if I can show you where he is. Because it's actually, let's see if am I going the right way? Oh, wrong way. You're not going to see much there. There we go. So right up there, right? So there's there's Silverbolt. But I also bought the remaining aerial bots because they've all been released, but they are unopened. I only got to open that one when I finished the draft of Productiveness and submitted it. The remaining 4 are also tethered to additional books. So they are sitting boxed up. Now, what was hilarious is, I mean, my wife, I'm sure my wife and Jenny would get along really well because Anne's like, why did you buy these 4 right now? Like, can't you just buy them later? I'm like, no, you don't understand. They're going to be like, if I don't buy them when they come out, they're going to be more money later.
Yeah, a lot more.
And also, they're staring me in the face every time I walk into my study.
Yeah.
And I know each of them represents. So number 1, I can't open them, which means I can't make the big gestalt. I can't make the combiner like until it's all done. So to me, like it's those little tricks that's what made me chuckle. So do you have stuff like that for yourself as well that you've done?
Oh my gosh, I got 1,000 things. My version of that, one, I love that you said tethered to other books. That's why you're a great writer. Like tethered to other books is such a great phrase. But I consider myself the best Jon Acuff salesman in the world. So most of accomplishing things is just selling yourself on things you really want, but you probably don't want to do in the moment. So like I use so many tricks to kind of sell myself into doing the thing that ultimately I want to do. And like rewards, you mentioned, like I've done that with Lego sets where like I've got Legos behind me and it's like, oh, I got the set, but I can't do it until blank. Or pencils. Like, hey, I bought some bougie pencils called Blackwing. And I'm like, I only use them with this type of idea. And here's when I write this type of idea, I bought a pair of shoes. They were like $250 running shoes. They were carbon plate, like crazy. And I wore them when I wrote this one book because I wanted to write fast.
Yeah, I remember you wrote about that. And also, by the way, the Blackwing stuff, have you seen now they're doing branded Blackwings? Like they've got a Fender group and they've got like,
nice.
And I'm a fountain.
Yeah, I love them.
I've got to say,
I love them.
Yeah, they don't need to be like they're just pencils, right? Like I mean, they're great pencils. Yeah. You could buy just a regular, but they're like, nope. I mean, same thing with fountain pens. I'm the same way. It's like, and there's something about that. Like it is, it reduces friction, I think. Like, that's the other thing too, is it's like,
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. That's the thing for me, like, you use the right phrase, reduce friction between you and achieving the thing you're trying to achieve.
yeah,
So what's the like, there's an amazing gym in our town that's about 20 minutes away. I'll never be a member because 20 minutes is all I
yep.
need to go, I don't wanna drive today. I don't It's 40 minutes round trip. I don't wanna It's too much friction. So there's things in my life that I'm like, "That's too much friction." I'm thinking about doing that with a watch. That's the next one I'm playing around with. Like, I kinda wanna become a watch guy. And
Yeah.
so I'm thinking about, like, can I tie some huge goal to, like, an Omega, or can I tie some huge goal to, like, a Rolex? Like, that's where I'm kinda thinking, and I haven't done it
Yeah.
yet, but I'm kinda
So,
debating that.
so I've got some watches, but I haven't got my Grail watch yet. My Grail watch is the watch from Interstellar, the Murph.
Oh, I haven't
And
even seen that one. I'll have to look it up.
you've seen Interstellar though,
I
obviously, right?
haven't, no.
You've never seen
No.
Interstellar? Oh my
No.
goodness, it's
No.
such an amazing
It's sad.
film.
Everyone told me you cry a lot. I'm like, "I don't know if I wanna cry a lot." Like,
So there is a watch that Hamilton made specifically as a result
ah,
of the film. And what's interesting is, number one, it's like a $1,500 watch, so it's not cheap. It's
yeah,
fully mechanical. But my daughter knows the business owners here in town who run the watch shop. She went to school with them, and so
yeah.
they're like, "We'll give it to you at a deal," which is great. Except I can't buy it until I have to have, like, it's. I'm not just gonna go buy it. Like, it's got to
It's not a
be.
Tuesday purchase. It's not a
No, no, no,
Tuesday
no, no, no,
purchase.
no, no. And
Yeah,
so it's because that watch does have some meaning. It's my son's favorite movie, as a parent. Like,
yeah.
if you ever see it, you'll know why. But it's stunning because, like, there is a material aspect to it. I'm not going to deny. I mean, I've got some stuff that is very materialistic, but
Yeah.
it does. Again, anything that can kind of, like, the dangling of the carrot to go, okay, well,
Oh my
look,
gosh,
or
yeah.
the reward for the next step afterwards, right? Like, oh, this
Yeah,
book, like, we've seen this happen before. You get on the bestsellers list, yeah, I'm going to buy that watch, or I'm going to do that thing, or it's a tether to
yeah.
some other momentous occasion. But yeah, like, I mean, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that as long as it's not, I mean, we've seen people in Tim mentions, he goes, "What is this mysterious self-discipline thing you were speaking of?" He also said earlier, he goes, "Those boxes would have been opened a while ago, Mike. I'm sorry."
Yeah, he would have been, yeah, all 4 done. All
Yeah,
4
exactly. I'm
done.
transforming it.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's there. Whatever you can do, and you've got a lot of great tips in here, like the motivation, like the list, which, for working
yeah.
out, like you talk. There's so many little things. This, again, what I loved about the way the book is constructed is you don't have to read it in one sitting.
Well, also, I wrote it that way because I would read books about procrastination that were 400 pages long,
no one's gonna
and if
read them.
you write,
Yeah,
you're a monster. Like, if your book about procrastination is a 90-page note section, you're not a procrastinator.
yeah.
Like, I said in the book, that's Jane Goodall writing about monkeys. I'm a monkey who wrote a book for fellow monkeys. So I know when I am in my Kindle as a procrastinator and I see 82 minutes left in the chapter, I'm like, "Oh, this chapter is," I don't want that. I wanna win. So, like, I wrote the book for procrastinators that would go, "Oh, 71 chapters? I'm winning. I won 4 times a day. I won 7 times," like, whatever it is. That's why I framed it that way, because I think that's really honest about the procrastination experience.
Apply the inbox zero mentality to this book. If you got 71 chapters and you got through 71 of them, holy crow, that's a pretty impressive. You got down to zero. Like, that's a pretty
Amazing.
interesting.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's
gonna feel great.
but the difference is that it's not just quantitative, it's qualitative, because there's a lot of great stuff in here. So,
I
Jon,
appreciate that.
I want to thank you for being here today. Where can people pick up the book? I know it's right now, as we're
Sure.
recording this, it's available for pre-order, and what they can get, and where can they keep up with the work you've got going on?
Yeah, so the pre-order bonuses, if you go to jonacuff.com/go, you get the whole audiobook if you pre-order. So I read the audiobook, you get the entire thing, bonus stories in it. You can get the book anywhere books are sold. LinkedIn, I'm obviously over on LinkedIn, just enjoying that. And then I have a podcast called All It Takes Is a Goal, where I talk about the goals people are working on. And then I'm ready for the book you've told me about multiple times. I know it keeps getting pushed back,
Yeah,
but it's such a good title. It's such a good subtitle, and I haven't seen somebody write about it in the way I think you're going to write about it.
and it's as soon as Productiveness is done its final edits, it's the one that and actually I've got some other interesting ones. We'll chat more later for sure. But
Yeah.
Jon, thank you so much for being here and having a productive conversation with me today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.